Hey guys, welcome to your astrological forecast for the weekend of July 17th through the 19th. It's going to be one with not a lot of huge transits. So we're really going to be following closely the moon's movement before it sets up for its big new moon in Cancer on Monday the 20th. So this weekend is more about preparing us for what that's going to bring into our lives. So July 17th. So this Friday, what we are going to be seeing is the moon is going to be in the sign of Gemini. Not too bad there, air signs, especially Gemini, kind of like represent a lot of that duality that Cancer already has by being wishy-washy, moving sideways, and not necessarily going assertively in one direction. Gemini kind of dances on its own feet and moves in both ways at the same time, and so it can be very sporadic energy. Obviously it emphasizes the mind, so we're going through a lot of conversations. Important conversations happen when the moon is in Gemini, sometimes ones that aren't easy to hear. And, we do have a tendency when the moon is in Gemini to also get a little into our psychology a little bit, which that can bring out maybe a bad bout of psychosis. So it just becomes really hard to kind of get out of our heads. And when we're in that state of mind, it can be hard when the moon is an energy that really pushes you to feel and to hold on to something and to process it. And with the sign of Gemini, that wants to be moving constantly, uninhibited, it wants to really not have obstacles at all. Air seeks to not be contained. So there is some difficulty there. Venus is conjunct Gemini, or conjunct the moon that day, so we can expect a lot of love conversations, feelings, ideas. So maybe there's some truths that pertain to your love life that are going to be coming out around Friday when it's kind of going through that process. So Venus will probably be even closer Thursday night, so you may even get it a little sooner than that. So when we have the Venus conjunct moon, the moon moves very fast, and so it's going to line up with a lot of things in a small amount of time because it's the fastest moving celestial body, even faster than the sun. The sun takes 365 days to move through the whole zodiac, but the moon usually only takes 28 to 30 days, like basically a month. So what that means is we don't necessarily have the most concentrated energy when we're working with the moon, because it does move so fast. But it does bring about a lot of our internal world, what we're going on personally, and it's more so that energy that's a little harder to define or really explain, because it's so personal and intimate, just like your moon sign. And it's also kind of our shadow side. So there's always stuff going beyond our vision, that's either pulling us in directions or, those little voices that we have in the back of our heads. Like, I feel like that's a lot in relation to the moon, and how that stuff comes up so quickly and so unexpected to us, really can implicate what the moon is doing at that time. So the moon is also going to be squaring Neptune and Pisces on the 17th, Friday. So when we have this kind of a square of an energy, they're both water energies. The moon already is, representative of Cancer, and it's in the sign, or it's, this is the season that it really, really likes to be in. It's in its own season. It may not be in the sign of Cancer until the 18th. But, when we're looking at the season of Cancer itself, we're really looking at the moon in a lot of ways. Just like when we look at Leo's season, we're going to be looking at the sun a lot. And so when the moon squares Neptune, Neptune's at 20 degrees in retrograde. So you guys know that it is it's the most recent planet to go into retrograde. And it usually is kind of last in a lot of ways, Neptune. I mean, Pisces is the last sign that usually gets left behind. It's kind of that energy that, you miss out on opportunities and stuff. And so when we square, we don't like to see that aspect so much. It's more of a challenging aspect where you're kind of being told that you're working with somebody that you don't necessarily get along with. Now, so when this moon in Gemini is squaring Neptune, what does that really do to us? We have very, very fast moving moon energy plus Gemini, which is like, thinking on its feet. It's like, okay, that emotion's happening. Okay, that one, swerve, swerve, dodge, dodge. It's like you're driving on a road and it's wet, it's slick, and so you still have somewhere to be at a certain time, and that Gemini energy is going to push you to get there and to keep going and to quickly maneuver around obstacles on the way. Now the Neptune is more so like the big pothole energy that comes up on the road, or maybe it's even, that could actually like damage your car. It could throw your tires out of alignment if you don't see it, and it's usually very hidden energy. So there is this indication that on when it makes this square, that we can kind of be accident prone or kind of flirt with danger a little bit on the 17th Friday, this Friday. So, Neptune can cause like a really significant amount of damage when we take advantage of it, or we don't really give it its due. And what that can mean is Neptune is meant to slow you down, is meant to really dig at your sensitivities and open your box of fears. And so if you're fighting that on Friday, that's that square energy happening. It's like, oh, this is a really dangerous road right now. It's pouring rain torrentially. It's not a very well-paved road. I can't even see the people in front or behind me. It's raining so heavily. That's Neptune energy. It's a lot of water. It's a lot of confusion, illusion. And so we have a tendency to not act in a very direct, confident manner when we're working with Neptune energy. And so this square, Friday, can really open up a lot of wounds. I mean, Chiron just went retrograde too, which is that asteroid that suggests where we really hurt in our own personal lives, and where we don't really seek healing for ourselves. We'd rather give it to other people. And that's very Cancerian in nature. I think it's most associated to Sagittarius. It is the Centaur asteroid anyways in the sky. And that's Sagittarius' symbol anyways. But, in Cancer, that mom energy that wants to take care of everybody else, but doesn't necessarily have their own interests, their own sense of pride or productivity. It's all in relation to, the family or the home. It's more about the idea of keeping the home going as opposed to their own personal wants and needs. And so Cancer already has that energy that's very Chiron related. Like, I'll do this for you before I even sit down and eat for myself. I'll let everyone go ahead and feast on the meal I've made, and while I'm still making dessert, I still haven't even eaten yet. Some kind of energy like that. And so be a little wary, that square aspect. And it's also, there's, the sun is already opposing all of this huge energy that is continually transforming us with the Capricorn placements. We've got Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn in there doing deep, deep, deep work. And that's a big reason why we're seeing the world change in such dramatic ways right now. And so when the sun is opposing all of that, it can make us very hard to understand what our purpose is, what our identity is in the grand scheme of all of this transformative energy. And it won't be until later in Leo season that we get away from that aspect, that opposing aspect, and we start to work with it a little better and start to see what exactly we need and what we are inspired to do, because that's that fire sign energy. So so then we go to the 18th, Saturday. So Saturday, the moon is going to be conjunct North Node in Gemini. So the North Node is that point in our chart where we're really, really doing our life's work. You know, you can look at it almost like where the 10th house is and the very Capricorn energy. It's where we're headed in life. It's kind of like the mountain that we are supposed to climb that's going to give us the most sense of fulfillment, the most amount of achievement. And so your North Node is a very, very essential part of your chart. And so when the moon conjuncts the North Node, we get a lot of revelations about, you know, are we on the right path? You know, we're realigning. I mean, Cancer and Tarot, if you guys are at all familiar with Tarot and the major arcana, is represented by the Chariot card, and that's also the road. And so that's really about, you know, kind of life's journey, starting and moving away from your homeland. And then we get to Leo, which powers us up, but also presents us with a lot of obstacles, usually in the form of antagonism. So we get competitive, but, you know, we come across people that are directly opposing us, and but through it all, we strengthen ourselves when we meet those obstacles. So it's necessary. It's not an easy road. Cancer and Leo energy is very, very personal energy. Cancer is more so your home environment, what's your surroundings. And I think we all know how important it is to have a relaxed, you know, home where you can detach yourself from the world around you. It's a safe space. We all need our shell, no matter what that looks like. And so this home energy this season has just been one for the books, because I think a lot of us have never wanted to be out of our homes more than we do now, because we've been stuck in them for months now since quarantine. And I think this is one Cancer season that we're really, really fighting that energy, because we all want to be doing stuff again. We all want to be social, to be celebrating, you know, life with people. And there's so many restrictions on that right now that it can make home not really feel like the safe haven that it used to be. And, you know, with this North Node, it will be dancing in, I feel like, Gemini for a while. And so it'll end up going back into Cancer over time, and that'll reignite us with that restructure of the home environment and making that space a sanctuary again. So Saturday, when the moon moves into Cancer, that's when we're really going to feel this powerful energy start. You know, there are different exaltations, detriments, and things for each of the celestial bodies. So moon is actually most favorable in the sign of Taurus, which you might think is weird. Why wouldn't it be the right, you know, spot if it's in Cancer, which is what it's associated with? That just means that the Taurus sweet spot is just where it's most comfortable, it's most pleasurable, and it's most productive, you know, because the moon in Cancer is still a lot of emotion. You know, it's not always easy to work with. And so Taurus has this gentleness, but it also has this sense of productivity, being an earth sign. And so that's a more favorable place for it. But tangent there. So Moon will be moving into Cancer from Gemini on Saturday the 18th this weekend. And it's going to conjunct Mercury at 7 degrees. So Mercury's in Cancer right now, and the moon is going to move right up through that. So this weekend, so far we have the moon conjuncting Venus, we have the moon conjuncting North Node, and the moon conjuncting Mercury, which those are all, Mercury and Venus are very personal planets, and North Node squished in the middle is our life's purpose. And so that's, really, really getting back in touch with ourselves. Is a lot of what this is going on, and how we can hold things close to us for one last embrace before we start to let things go, moving into the fire sign of Leo. So this is kind of our last big hurrah, our familial embrace. It's like hugging the things around you, making that really special meal. Maybe you guys will be doing that this weekend, having some family time. So then we're gonna be squaring Chiron at midnight. So the moon will move into that uncomfortable square position, and we were already talking about Chiron, so I feel like we kind of already understand it, but that square, just like how it wasn't working well with Neptune, it's making that road very dangerous. Wear your seatbelt, be very safe. But Chiron is more so, bringing up like deep wounds for us. I've already seen it in the people around me and myself, that Chiron shift, because it just went retrograde and now it's going to be squaring the moon for a second. And so this could be a pretty painful weekend. And that's why maybe this Venus and Mercury energy is showing us that we have a lot of people on our side, in our court, in our home, that we can relate to, so we're really going to find that we're connecting a lot with the people in our lives, the people that matter, and having those important conversations, and just letting the wounds, be revealed, to like really start taking off the Band-Aid, try to heal it, try to see exactly what it looks like underneath if you haven't looked at your wounds for a while. And obviously we're talking about spiritual ones, ones on a different level than just physical, but you may be going through physical pain as well, because that's another implication of the Cancerian energy, is that there is pain associated to water. And what happens when we go through the water signs is we go through this bout of loss, pain, emotions. It's more of the darker aspects to us, but it's necessary for us to be able to really fully understand what's going on a deeper level. And so going deeper with experiences and with people allows us for this significant illumination and truth that we get with the water energy. And so it's not always a fun journey, but it is necessary to really see the damaging effects of what's going on within us and around us. And so the water signs do that. Whenever we're going through energy, working with the water signs, they put the pain in front. It's like it's right in front. It's ready for you to see. And we usually keep pain in the back of our minds, and we suppress it. And so it can be very hard to move through energy like this. And so, what's good about it though is that when we put that pain into perspective, we usually come into a lot of enlightenment almost, of like a spiritual kind, like, okay, I can really see the emotional toll that this thing in my life has been doing to me for so long, and now it's time for me to move on. Now it's time for me to transition to that fire, to getting back in touch with myself, I've identified things that aren't working for me, that are doing lasting damage, and I am reclaiming my purpose, my strength, and I'm getting rid of the old ways of inhibiting myself. That's really that transition from water to fire. And that's what we're making slowly but surely. We're still going to be opposing a lot of the Jupiter, Pluto, and Saturn big stuff until like mid to late August. So that's still going to be really weighing on us for a bit. But yeah, I think it does get a little better. Not to say that water signs aren't enjoyable. It's just that they bring up pain because they are emotionally in tune with what is going on with the world and with themselves on a deeper, more intimate level. And sometimes we're not always ready when that comes around. Okay, and then the last day, so 19th, so Sunday, before getting ready for this really big new moon, we are going to be squaring Mars. The moon will be squaring Mars early in the morning on Sunday. And, that is another aspect that, really feels like it's uninhibiting us. Like we can't really take action. Mars is very like, go, 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 do. And we've got this Gemini movement when we start out the weekend. And the Mercury is still there in the sign of Cancer. So there's still some pronounced movements, some roads to travel. And then Mars is that ignition, that basically gasoline almost, that keeps propelling us, that keeps us moving, that keeps us taking action and doing things. And so when the moon is squaring that, we have a hard time doing those instinctual things that we know we need to. So we kind of like step over ourselves and, trip up a little bit. So it's not just as easy, to work with. But, the moon moves really fast. So that's one of the good sides about this, is that it doesn't stay in these aspects for very long because it's only in each of the zodiac signs for about maybe 2 to 3 days. And so it does transition very quick. So let's see here. So we're going to be trining Neptune. So the moon, even though it was in squaring Neptune the previous day, I believe it's going to be trining Neptune on, that's how fast it moves, folks. So it will very quickly turn into the energy that we can work with and that we understand. The trine position is like knowing that it's almost like in school where, if you are taking if you're taking a English composition class and the previous semester you took grammar, well, those two are very much related and you kind of need to know one to be able to understand the other. And that's that trine aspect. It's that learning, but it's very familiar stuff. So it's not like you're being dealt with energy that's very different from your own. It's very familiar. It just looks a little bit different, just enough to encourage you to traverse into like a new study, something like that. So, but it's a language that you pretty much already know. You're just using it in a different way, So trines we love. Trines are great, and they happen when the elements are the same. So, water, water, fire, fire, earth, earth, air, air. And so the energy is a lot more natural. And so when the moon will be trining Neptune, that's a much better position for us. Neptune is still in retrograde, so it's not quite working. We're kind of digging deep in ourselves right now, but it makes it for like an easier time. So when the new moon comes on Monday, we can really take in new stuff, because that trine aspect will allow us to move through those really painful things. So you may really come to some deep understandings about the pain that you're holding this weekend. That could really be the deep work of what's going on here. And, understanding it and also releasing it, and the new moon usually brings us new things, whereas the full moon is more so about releasing. But it'll be an interesting one this weekend, I think, because the Cancer energy usually pushes us to hold on to stuff. And so there is this dichotomy of like not really going anywhere, and that's why the crab moves from side to side, because it seeks to grab onto it. When a crab grabs onto something, you know how hard it is to get off? That is the energy we're working with. And so the things we let go of, like, we really have to try hard to do that during this time. And so, and Cancer doesn't really love new stuff that much. It really likes the old things and curating stuff. And, like families go back centuries. I mean, just think of how old that energy is. And so it doesn't really make a lot of room for new things. And that's why we're moving into Leo, which is very much so like, reorganizing your bedroom, watching your favorite movies, identifying like what makes you you, and that nobody else can be. And so we're making that transition. And then let's see here. So trine Neptune late night. And then right before the moon happens on the 20th, we're going to be opposing Jupiter. So we're going to have a direct opposition between the moon and Jupiter before, the new moon. So it's moving very quick, and it's aspecting a lot of things this weekend, some good, some bad. I'd say Jupiter and Neptune are the ones to really look out for. I think nothing can really slow down that Mars and Aries energy. Even though it does square it for a second, I think it'll still keep churning out stuff. And then Mercury is direct now. Venus is direct. Even the North Node is. So that stuff moving through it makes it a lot easier. It's just the bigger philosophical, spiritual energy that is going to be doing a number on us this weekend. So that's the update that I have for you guys. Get ready for this new moon. Get ready for new things around the home. I myself am looking to move, so that's exactly what this could mean for you. New home, new family, which could mean that, you're bringing someone into your house in a way, like if you have a new roommate, if you're getting a new pet, if you are moving back home, maybe even to be with your family because of quarantine and all, and you're just like, I don't need to be where I am now because everything's digital, or I'm working from home. And so yeah, just stuff like that we can expect with the new moon. New moon is great for us to kind of repolish our shell. Cancer is associated with the skin, and that's why it's that protective element that we all need moving through the world. Without it, we're very defenseless. And so the new moon in Cancer, could very well mean that you start a new skin regimen, that you do something, a little more personal in that way, but kind of identifying what makes you feel safe before venturing out into Leo season, which wants to go on like a shamanic journey all alone through like a wilderness. And so you need to identify what comforts you before you do that. And so every energy works, into the next one in some way, and they all work together and differently. And so it's important to know how they interact with each other. New moon stuff with Cancer, hopefully it's good stuff. Cancer can represent our sickness. And so hopefully you're not finding out that someone just got, coronavirus, anything like that. Stay healthy. It's harder to do that because we all have these vices and these things that we rely on to numb pain. And so maybe we're putting a lot of that into perspective, especially when we look at that Neptune energy that'll be squaring. But yeah, so that's what I've got for you guys this weekend. Thanks for bearing with me. I know I can go on some tangents here. I'm gonna try to maybe better organize this for the next time. And sorry about the sunburn as well. I've got quite a bit peeling. So here comes my new skin, new moon energy, new moon in Cancer, y'all. It's coming. So get ready for it. It's exciting stuff nevertheless. And things will get a little easier coming into that fire season. You may get a little more fighty or more agitated, but it's easier to move through fire energy because it seeks to move. So become more active, more physical, and just find all of your favorite things and, start to really feel inspired again. So that's what we can kind of look forward to, and that's what I got. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see more of this soon.